Hey everybody. So, what's up, Michael? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. Another great show I'm looking forward to tonight. How are you doing, buddy?
Good, good, good. Yeah, I'm super excited for our next guest. I mean, if we're talking about legendary, Star Wars people, right? People that are involved in Star Wars. I think our next guest, Lawrence, is probably on the top of that list. And the reason is, as Star Wars fans, we all know this one specific place, right? It's what we Star Wars fans sometimes refer to as the Mecca of Star Wars fans, where we all take the pilgrimage, right? We all every time, you know,
Where are you going with this one, Gabe?
every time we go to the, Northern California to stop by the Yoda fountain at Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
And today we're going to have the man who sculpted that Yoda fountain at Lucasfilm, Lawrence Noble. That's crazy.
yeah. What an honor for sure. And it's crazy. Collection Wars is such a respected channel. Its community is awesome. We have a great following, and when it comes to these artists that we have on here, it's just such a great it's a moment in time that it's just hard to believe that all these fantastic artists have created what they've created, and we're able to share these awesome stories with everybody. And when it comes to Lawrence, I'm really looking forward to hearing how he got started in the industry and his relationship with George Lucas. But yeah, let's bring him on. Great to see you, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Hey, it's great to be in Collector Wars and
Thank you.
share my Star Wars story with
Yeah.
you guys.
Yes.
We really appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to kind of chat with us and hang out for a little bit. We really appreciate that.
For sure.
There's always room for in my life for Star Wars fans. There's always, and I'm a fan myself, and it started in 1977, and I was, gosh, 27 or so, and I saw Star Wars in New York,
Yeah.
and I just got blown away. First few minutes of it, and the rest, it was just a dream, Shabbat. And I told my agent at the time, I got to work on it. I got to work on it. Well, at the time, I wasn't doing sculpture. I was doing one sheets and advertising. Um, and I'd started in that business in 1973, November 1st, 1973. And I've been doing it. And in 1990 is when I went into full scale sculpture. In 1978, 79, I was on my agent's back. I mean, you got to get me on Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he did. He did with Sidney Gannis, who had given me a break on the movie Time After Time.
Yeah.
He had given me a break on that film, and I designed the one sheet for that. And he said, "You're going to work on Star Wars." And I said, "Yes." It was the biggest excitement to happen to me, and the biggest disappointment I've ever had. Well, it started with me working with Sidney, given two directives: myth and legend. That's all he gave me. He didn't give me Yoda. I didn't know about Yoda. I didn't know about anything other than myth and legend. And I knew the history of Star Wars. So on Empire Strikes Back, I didn't know anything. And I ended up doing what I thought was my best work, a an advance one sheet for Empire Strikes Back, or a big red Vader, and it it had my heart, and
This one?
yes, that was it. It had my heart, and I gave it everything, and I found out that they weren't going to use it. And I went, oh my God, how could it be that I've given everything to it and they're not going to use it? I mean,
Yeah.
I was devastated. But 10 years passed.
Yeah.
They decided to use it as uh, a fan one sheet, and they
Oh.
decided to put it out in Killian Enterprises decided to put it out, and man, my whole life changed, and it was out there, and then I started lobbying my agent to let me work on it, and I ended up, not working on it for a while, but when I did, I was unstoppable. I mean, I was wet behind the ears, so says Sidney Gannis. And he said, "You were not only wet behind the ears, you were dripping wet."
Hey, Lawrence, let me ask you real quick for the viewers who aren't familiar with what a one sheet is. Can you explain that?
A one sheet is 26 by 41, and it's a poster for the film. It's supposed to position the poster for anyone who hasn't seen the movie.
Gotcha.
So it positions the movie for the outside people, and normally it's positioned. You want to think, oh, it's positioned for Star Wars fan. Well, it is for positioned for Star Wars fan, but it also is positioned for other people who aren't Star Wars fans, so they can build their audience.
Right.
So that was the field I was in. I did time after time. I did Blowout.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, John Travolta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Sharky's Machine, directed
Oh yeah.
Burt Reynolds, and I did Flash Gordon.
Nice.
Flash Gordon had the soundtrack that the Queen
Yeah.
Yeah.
brought up, and I did the one sheet for Flash Gordon and advanced one sheet right before Richard Amsel did it too.
Yeah.
And those were my credits to fame. And
At the time.
yeah, at the time,
Yeah.
and I guess it was in the 90s when I was doing work for the Danbury Mint. I was asked to design and produce the Star Wars chess set, and I designed it and produced it. And John Alvin, do you know John Alvin?
I know the name.
Yeah, he was my best friend, and John and I were having a beer before Star Wars came out, and we're having a beer together. Man, how do we get on board Lucasfilm? How did we get on board? I don't know. Hand me a beer. We thought about it and thought about it. I don't know how we get on board. But we've got to let him know that we're serious guys, and for some reason it worked out that way. And John did he did the Star Wars concert poster.
Yeah.
It's, man, one of the most heaviest pieces of collector's art. At the same time, I did the the one sheet for Star Wars, and we had a thing going, where he was doing something, and I get something going,
Yeah.
and we had no competition. I mean, we were so much in awe of working on the project that all we did was inspire.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of artists come down the pike. Brian Root is one of them. Mark Ratz is another one, and they've been doing art for a long time. Jerry Vandersveld was
Yeah.
one of them. They've
Yeah,
been doing it for a long time, and my hat's off to them.
Yeah.
Because we all inspire each other,
that's right.
and what happens for one is what happens for all of us, and that's a good family to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Lawrence, even taking it even before that, like, what have you always just been an artist, right? Even as a kid, did
Yeah,
you really enjoy just art?
I in 1968 or 69,
Mhm.
I graduated. In 68, I graduated from art school. In 69, I went in the U.S. Army.
Oh,
And after that, in 71, I started business. And I started business in, in art.
mhm.
So I've been in business in art for, well, Libby, my wife, asked me because someone asked her, says, "What's Noble's day job?" You
Yeah.
know, assuming I had a day job, and she said, art is his day job, and
Yeah.
that's what he's doing. I've been blessed to do art for my career, and I've done it with passion and with I don't I don't know. I think passion
Yeah.
is the main thing to have. If you decide to go into art, passion, persistence, uh, you gotta want it really bad, because it gets tough. It gets tough at
Mhm.
times, and I've, other than 4 years that I had in employee, I was director of sculpture for Academy of Art University in San Francisco for 4 years. And other than that, I've been on my own. And even that, I was busy doing sculpture,
Yeah.
at the time. I did uh, my bridge for Yoda. I mean, for Lucasfilm. Well, let me talk to you about my experience with Yoda. I mean, that's something that people want to know, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, it started um, with a small Yoda I did for Lucasfilm. Yoda was, that's it. That was my first uh, ever statue I had done in my life.
Mhm.
And I did it of Yoda after Empire Strikes Back. It's more heart than it is good.
Aw.
It is. I mean, I gave it my heart, but it's not that good. And but it sold, and it sold for, gosh, I think it was $50,
Mhm.
and lately it's gone for 5,000 if you can get one.
Yeah.
Uh, I wish that I was part of the 5,000.
Yeah, yeah, I understand 100%.
But that's where it started, and that's where Yoda started being real good for me. I designed him again for the Star Wars chess set, and
Mhm.
he was little tiny, and he was good to me then. I developed the product as well as I could at that time. Um, but in 19, sheesh, 20.
Mhm.
maybe 21.
Mhm.
A collector came to me, um, Han Park
Mhm.
came to me and asked me, would I be interested in doing a photo or photo art of Yoda? And I said, I'm not really doing photo now. I'm concentrating on sculpture. Uh, would you do a sculpture for me? And he segued into that. I said, if you can get 5 friends together, and then I could do it. I could pay for it and everything. And he said, I'll call you back. 5 or 10 minutes later, he calls back. Hey, this is I got 5 guys together, and one of them was Steve Sansweet.
Oh,
I got 5 guys together, and can you do it now? Well, yes, I can, but we're going to make 6 of them. He says, why 6? I said, that's where all the profit is going to go, is in the 6th one, because I want to give that one to George. Well,
Yeah.
why don't you give him the first one? And then I said, well, don't you think he would find out about the 6, the other 5 I've done? I said, no, he gets number 6. And we did it, and the collectors were happy, and so it was time to give him the 6th one. So together with Steve Sansweet's help, I uh, met George for the first time in 1980, when I started working for Lucasfilm, to 2000, 2001. I had not met George, and I had the chance to meet him. And he came down, and I said, unbeknownst to me, he had wanted a bronze statue of Yoda. He had wanted a bronze edition of exactly what I was offering, high end uh, Yoda, or high end Star Wars projects, uh, and they'd be high end. I mean, they cost a lot, and they would be high end, and I didn't know that. So I came in offering one, and he said, I want you to talk to Casey. And Casey was the head of merchandising. And I talked to him, and we got 50 uh, uh, sold, and I got the contract for 50. That is one of the best photos of that Yoda that I've seen or heard of. This is a man that used to come by the foundry and shoot just 4x5
mhm.
negatives of Yoda, and you can see it's got detail.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got detail all over it. So that's the one.
Beautiful.
That-
I'm gonna break in real fast and pause on the Yoda real quick when we're talking about the Yoda. So I've noticed that a lot of guests, the artists that we do have on this show, a friend of ours, David Boudreau, for one. I mean, I noticed that a lot of you guys, and I don't know if obviously everybody has different talents when it comes to whether they can draw or sculpt, but I've noticed that a good part of you guys have not only the talent to draw and create a really cool drawing on drawing this on paper on print, and then yet you have a sculpt to go in and sculpt an image from nothing. And I think that's fascinating that you guys can do that. I've seen, David's work what he did, Gabe,
Yeah.
on the drawing and a lot of stuff that he has done for Disney and whatnot, and yet he can sculpt. In the process of when you guys are doing these sculpts, whether it's resin material, when you decide that you're going to go to high end and do something like bronze, is that something that you've learned to do yourself initially?
It's something I've learned through mentorship, and I've learned on my own.
Okay.
But I learned it after I knew how to draw. Drawing is a fundamental art, and through drawing, you can learn how to see. Uh, you don't know how to see until you start drawing, because at a point, and I guess it was 3 or 6 months into it, into drawing, and this was in art school, I learned how to see, and I started seeing things differently. I started seeing them in form. Uh, and all the time I was doing illustration, I wanted to see them, well, that's some of the drawing stuff that uh, I wanted to see them in form. And that's probably the difference between my illustration and my sculpture, because I wasn't taught about sculpture. And in fact, when I was just about ready to start art school, one of my friends was ready to start sculpture. And I was real happy for her. But then I kind of laughed to myself, not to her. Said, who would do sculpture? I mean, that's been done. It's been done throughout the ages. Who would do sculpture? I was smitten by art, illustration art, and well, the joke was on me. I ended up doing sculpture because I ended up doing confident images on that held themselves confident on the page. They were designed to be on the page, and they were form driven, and it naturally introduced me to be a sculpture, and I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had drawn formed images, and I showed it to my good friend Ralph McQuarrie, and he said, you do
Let's
everything on your page seems to be rendered, in a type form. And I took it as a compliment.
now let me just stop you right there, because
I know, right?
you said that very casual, but you said your friend Ralph McQuarrie. I
My
mean,
very good friend.
as Star Wars fans, obviously Ralph McQuarrie is right. Like, I mean, he created all the concept art and all that.
Right.
So you're good friends with Ralph McQuarrie.
I met him in 85 or 86. We were at Comic Con together, just he and I.
Yeah.
And we really didn't have anybody come by and see us. And we were sitting there drawing stuff. And I was, uh, admiring his work so much that my work was suffering because I was drawing my work, but I was looking at his, and he was just so nice to me.
Wow.
And my wife and I went to Lucasfilm because I almost went to work for Lucasfilm, and that's when I met again a Ralph, and he had worked on Star Wars, and he was getting ready to work on Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I was there for a lot of it.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
just got together. We were respectful as friends. We did uh, a show together in 19 well, it was 1986.
Hmm.
Uh, we did a show in the desert for Bill Plum, another collector, um, which dealt with. We did a poster. He did a beautiful poster, and I did one as well. And I don't say beautiful, mine was. Uh, and I did one as well, and it had to do with handicapped people
Hmm.
and how the handicapped would use Star Wars and their impetus towards Star Wars in their education. Um, and I did a handicapped person in a wheelchair, a real designed wheelchair, and he was looking at a space shuttle being launched, and with him was R2D2 and C3PO, uh, and that was the story. I've got a few of those left over, and they were smaller, a little smaller than one sheet, but they were on nice paper. It was nicely printed, and we did a uh, a conversation, or a
Like a
um, like well
kind of,
like a convention
yeah, like a,
with the people that went to the show,
yeah.
and we did a
Oh, a
private.
panel, like a private panel. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ralph and I did it together in
Yeah. Wow.
1996, and
That,
he's, you know,
yeah.
we were friends until he died. I was with him the day he died,
Oh man.
Jeez.
Wow.
and that was really tough. I mean, we went to the hospital. We went to the hospital following
Mhm.
he and his wife Joan, uh, and man, that was tough. You
Wow.
know what I must say, um, George was showed his colors because he was there at the hospital playing
Wow.
tribute,
Oh,
being tribute
yeah.
to uh, to Ralph, and nobody bothered him.
Yeah.
Nobody bothered, and including me, uh, just enough to see him. You know, just to know
Yeah.
that
Like use
oh,
the,
he recognized him.
wow.
Respect.
Yeah.
Nothing but respect.
Huge. So Lawrence, that's thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Again, for Star Wars fans, we appreciate all of the background stuff, the stuff that
Yeah.
goes on behind the scenes. Um, so Lawrence, as far when going back to the Yoda statue, so you talked to George Lucas about it, and they decided to go forward with the 50.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
And for every uh, sixth one that we did, they would take one of them.
mhm,
We'd give to them, and they could give it. They did with it what they wanted to do with it.
which brings us to what they use some of those for, right? Because
They used them for they put one at Disneyland, then one at Kathleen Kennedy's office, and
mhm,
before she was, you know,
yeah,
hired by them,
yeah,
and they did one at Singapore,
yeah,
and they did one at Big Rock Ranch, and then they did one at Lucasfilm.
yeah,
And I didn't know about Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm was the second one they did. They did Big Rock Ranch, and I got really excited about.
and
And this is
I have some pictures of Big Rock because I was lucky enough to go there. So
yeah,
this is at Skywalker Ranch, right?
right, right.
So this
Uh,
was the first one that they installed.
yes. Did you see when you were at Skywalker Ranch?
That's a good pick.
Did you go to Skywalker Vineyards?
That's where we ended up going. Yeah. Oh, did you do
Yeah,
the angel sculpture?
that was the first job I did up in Oregon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, very cool. Okay, yeah. I know exactly.
Yeah, that's where I went, was the vineyards. That's right.
okay, yeah, that was really appealing to be on that, and everybody thought it was a, a male angel, but it wasn't. It was called a Skywalker,
Yeah.
and he was, and this is George's vision. He was up in the clouds, skywalking away. That's why he had uh, a walking stick, and he would make sure that the clouds had enough moisture content for
Hmm.
the grapes to grow, and
Yeah.
enough, uh, you know, had enough ingredients for the grapes,
Yeah.
and that's what his job was, and he was a Skywalker, not to be confused with Luke as an angel.
I'm trying to find the statue. Oh, here it is.
That's
Um,
on the
I
website.
yeah, I found one online. Let me just bring that up so we can show it to our audience. Um, and here it is. One second. And this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is the
Wow.
one that's famously on all of the wine. So I took home some wine from the winery, and it has that logo, right? That symbol.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, here, let me see. I think I have a little. Uh, no, I thought I had a little coaster with it. And it looks like that's your design.
Hey, Lawrence. So, in doing a life-size statue versus like a smaller, there's a lot involved in something like that. And
Yes.
I know we're still talking about Yoda, but the Indiana Jones, that thing's huge. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, look at I got. They have it on all their merchandise too, and all that. So
That's nice.
yeah.
What the I can show you a. Let me get something.
Take your time. You're good.
Great statue. So I follow a process, and the process is very. Yes, that's the one. My wife is getting it for me.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So this is a raised statue. It is 1/3 scale.
Right.
In other words, if you enlarge her 3 times, she becomes 72 inches. She
Right.
1/3. And I do this. I do a drawing of it,
Mhm.
uh, and the powers that be, whether they be Lucas licensing or whoever, approves it,
Mhm.
and then I I I get a model because I do the drawings, and there's lots of different designs, so it doesn't pay to get a model at that stage, but it pays to get a model at this stage, and you want to work it out all the way around. You know, you want to work it out because the sculpture now, according to Michelangelo, has 42 views.
Wow.
Don't ask me how it has 42 views, but Michelangelo said it, so it must be true. Um,
You're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm still so once I get the drawing approved, I get on the clay, and this is a cast of the clay because the clay is fugitive.
Right.
It doesn't stay the clay very long, and I'm talking about oil-based clay. The water-based clay constantly keep it wet. Um, that's oil based. So you keep it, um, you make a mold of it, and it's too long to go into the process. But you
Right.
make
Right.
a mold of it, and you end up with a bronze.
Yeah.
Make a story real short, but
Yeah. That's really. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
I basically I spend a lot of time at this stage because, and at the drawing stage, because drawing is malleable and bronze isn't.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that people understand, like a blueprint for a house. They understand uh, the house, what it's going to look like, and
Right.
that there's no surprises.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you for showing
Thank
that.
you. Yes. Totally.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
So,
And my house, I mean, my studio, which I'm at now, is
mhm.
full of maquettes.
That's
And
awesome. I look forward to one day coming and seeing you, Lawrence. So I'd love to.
Here's
Is this there? Is that there?
video, right?
I'm right here towards I'm sitting at,
In that desk in the back?
yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is fantastic. I was going to ask even before we started talking about your studio. I was going to ask it because just that is just beautiful in there. I love that.
Yeah.
That was
Skywalker
spider.
Ranch, like.
I know.
It was filled with spiders, and it was an old garage.
That's awesome.
We made it happen as a
Beautiful.
functional studio.
That's
Yeah.
fun. Very fun.
So have you? So obviously with the fountain, this one was the second one you said, right? The Lucasfilm one. Or
Yeah,
no? Yeah.
Lawrence Halprin
Mhm.
did the design for the Presidio,
Mhm.
and he had the idea of putting the Yoda on the fountain,
Mhm.
and they let me know, and I went, "Oh my God, if you're doing a fountain,
Yeah.
that's going to be on the cover of Time."
Right.
Going to be
As you know, Lawrence, I mean, this is the one thing when a fan, like Gabe mentioned earlier, this is where they go to get that. I mean, obviously they can't just walk in the front door. So, I mean, I think this is to appease all the fans that come up there, I mean,
Here's me and my daughter when she was a baby
the
going
Presidio.
to see the fountain
It was
because
I can't explain that feeling when my younger son Indiana's in the Coast Guard and he's in San Francisco, and as I have been to Skywalker Ranch, I've never been to the Presidio, and I never knew about the fountain until the last 8 years or so, but when I got there, there was just something about walking down that beautiful. It's really beautiful through the Presidio. All the flowers, it's just beautiful through there. But then you just see that monument, that Yoda, and it does something to you, right, Gabe?
oh yeah,
because of Yoda and 4 other pieces that are all part of the Presidio collection.
Mhm.
Won the Henry Herring Award.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is it. I don't know if you can see it,
I mean, blow you up.
and it's a medal,
Yeah.
Wow.
And I show it because it was given to me by the National Sculpture Society in New York. Uh, it
Wow.
was given at, gosh, I don't remember the 8th Street, um, Century City, the
Yeah.
Century City Club in New York. Well, George realized it was being given, and he went to it.
Uh,
We got to sit down together for lunch, and it was glorious. It was
yeah.
absolutely glorious. And then he got up and they said, we want you to say something about it, uh,
Mhm.
about the statue. And he called me up as being the resident expert, and we talked about it. We talked about it for a while. He said, well, I'm going to leave it to you to talk about, and go back to my seat. So I was on the spot, and talking to other sculptors about what it meant to win. That's an award that's given when it's deserved. It's not given every year,
Yeah.
and it was given to George Lucas, the owner, and uh, Lawrence Halpern, the uh, designer, and
Mhm.
then me, the sculptor. And it was a real positive. It was the grandest moment in my career.
Well,
Wow.
congratulations, Lawrence, on that. That is fantastic. You know, one thing that's really, really cool is we've been blessed enough to have several artists as yourself that everybody knows how private George Lucas is, and
Yeah,
he doesn't like the limelight. You know, he's low key, and yet all of the stories that Gabe and I hear about him, it's just absolutely wonderful. There's such a respect that these artists, you guys, have for George, which is understandable. But for somebody like him, I couldn't imagine being in his, number one, in his presence, but not just that, but on his side of things, just seeing people like you that are so talented getting these awesome awards, like from Star Wars, when everybody, Roger Christian and all the other guys were collecting all their academies and stuff, and just seeing these artists that have all come together from something that he started, something that he put together,
yes.
and to see all you guys getting all these accolades, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stand in the way of them. I mean,
Yes.
he's
Yes.
as classic as a person as he is as a professional, and
And
he's treated me with nothing but respect, and nothing but accolades.
Yes.
And
well,
I'm really pleased with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lawrence. Not only that, but like if you really, I mean, when you look at it, right? So obviously, you've worked, or George Lucas has used your work in a lot of different ways, right? So obviously we have, the Lucasfilm or the Skywalker Vineyards, angel. He used that. He ended up using that as a logo. Then we got, obviously the fountains, the Yoda. You also did the sculpture that's in the Lucasfilm campus, right? As soon as you
That's
walk
one of
in,
my favorite. That's
it's
one of my favorite, and
Yeah, that's so awesome.
part of the Henry Herring Award. It was Yoda. It was uh, oh, what can uh, no? There's Philo Farnsworth, the inventor of the modern TV, 1934.
yeah.
There was Willis O'Brien, who that was,
Mhm.
uh, and you can imagine me on the phone, getting the commission. You want what? You want a life size Willis O'Brien, and you want Kong, uh-huh, and you need the top 10 floors of the Empire State Building, uh, you know, and we involved it. We installed it, and he says, "I want to be there." And so he came up and looked at the installation. He says, "What if we lift this up and this had 3/4 inch bronze or stainless steel bolts holding it down to the floor, to the concrete floor.
Yeah.
And he says, "What if we lift it up and then put a giant statue underneath it?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
couldn't even imagine moving that stuff around. Jeez.
well, that's a whole other.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I mean, that was my favorite piece, and then when we moved it, it looks so much better.
Yeah.
So I knew that when he exercised the his exercise as a creator,
Yeah.
it would help the piece, and
Yeah.
it did. So
And Lawrence, the other thing too, which again, another big tribute that shows how much George Lucas respected you. His hometown of San Anselmo, right? At San
yes,
Anselmo, he in the park right by his house, he installed two of your works, right? The
yes,
Yoda statue and the Indiana Jones statue,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's his hometown.
We unveiled it. It gave us a chance. Now, for the first 30 years or so, I didn't meet him, but since then, we unveiled that piece together. He unveiled the piece
Mhm.
in front of me,
Yeah.
and uh, and he enjoyed the process.
Mhm.
Of unveil, uh, and that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
'Cause he, again, it was his idea to do the piece. Uh, I didn't go there and lobby for it, and it was his idea to use Yoda
Mhm.
as an emblem. He even said this: "I want to use this as an emblem for my company." So it was like Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
uh, being used as an emblem for his company. And
Wow.
there's talk to about using it for the statue at ILM in Australia. So
Wow.
we're just now talking about it. We don't know where it's going to go, but he sold one to Peter Jackson,
Wow.
and and you their handlers
Hmm.
didn't know where they were because he had and he wanted to put it up on a base, and it been removed and put in a closet for a while,
Yeah.
and he and Peter Jackson couldn't be found
Oh,
anywhere. And so his handlers were looking for him, and they found him. He and Peter Jackson were in the closet
yeah.
looking at
Looking for it.
and then Peter Jackson wrote me a letter and sent me a copy of the piece, and he said, "I hope it won't be too presumptuous of me to ask you for a copy
Yeah.
of the uh, Philo Farns, I mean,
The
Will
certificate.
Bryan statue." And I was thrilled. And I said, "Boy, Casey, my daughter," I said, "bring me a beer. I got to have a beer." And I said, "Casey, he wants a photograph of the big piece."
Hmm.
And she says, "Duh, Larry, he wants the piece."
Oh,
I said, "He wants the piece." he and we ended up casting another one and sending it
Wow.
to Australia or to New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, and then Peter Jackson ended up doing the new King Kong, right? The
Yes.
newer films. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he liked uh, Willis O'Brien. He
Yeah.
called him, what did he call him? Willie or something like that. It just,
Yeah.
I love Willie, and this is why. Uh, and so
And
that was that.
I I
and
can just imagine you're like, okay, what he wants, what? Okay,
I
make it 2 beers.
Yeah, make it too. You know,
exactly. And Lawrence, there's a couple other pictures I want to show you because there's. What about this beautiful piece right here?
yeah, they came to me, the San Francisco Hospital
Yeah.
Foundation came to me and they said, we put these fiberglass pieces up over the city and we'd like to for you to do one. And I said, only if I could do the Yoda fountain. So
Mhm.
they got permission from Lucasfilm,
Wow.
got me to do the Yoda fountain. That was a fun idea, and I haven't done another one since then. But
Beautiful.
imagine how much fun that was,
Yeah.
to
That's
do
beautiful.
uh, a volumistic study of Lucasfilm of my own design.
Work. Yeah, I was gonna say that to do it two dimensional. Well, it's technically 3 dimensional, but the image is 2 dimensional based on your reference of your 3 dimensional. Man, that's
Yeah, it called on all my input to make it happen, and I was real pleased with the input. And they sold it for, I think, 20, 30, or 40,000. Was it 40,000 or 20,000? They sold it for 40,000 the first time, and the uh, the buyer gave it back to him. Uh,
oh.
he bought it and then gave it back to him, and they sold it a second time. They made the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The buyer gave it back a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. That's done quite a bit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They and then sold it again. Well, they made $120,000 off of that, uh,
Wow.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
that was a chance to help San Francisco General Hospital. So obviously I didn't receive anything, but it's a chance to help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course. So Lawrence, I want to show you a couple more images that to hear about it. What about this one? What did you do this one for? The Darth
Uh,
Maul.
he was done for the Steve Sansweet, and he was done for their collection.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, we decided uh, to do the patina. A patina is the term for coloration
Right.
of wood or metal,
Mhm.
and it's done with different applications of different colors, like uh, sulfurated potash will turn it black, and uh, cupric nitrate will turn it green, and
Mhm.
uh, there's a whole bunch of different colors. You can turn it whatever color, but and shades of color. And I didn't want the I didn't want his mouth to be open, because then he was mad at the moment,
Mhm.
but then you walk by him and say, "Hey, I know you're mad." but the moment dies. That's only the first time you see him.
Yeah.
The moment lives, and I wanted him to be at the moment and giving you a grimace. And he said, "Next time you walk by me, I might kill you." You know,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's my way of involving the viewer. I try to involve the viewer in in all the pieces. So the pieces either have movement or the pieces have expression uh, that
Yeah.
involves the
I love
viewer,
it.
and that's one of the things about me that
Yeah.
I do.
Well, speaking of, by the way, Lawrence, Tarkin and Peter Cushing are probably, my favorite actor is Peter Cushing. My favorite Star Wars character is Tarkin. What did
Yeah,
you do this one for?
my favorite is Obi-Wan,
Uh,
but I
That's good to
did
know.
uh, I did Peter Cushing for well, I was invited to go to Lucasfilm. To go to Lucasfilm's celebration,
yeah.
30th celebration at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and I was invited to to sculpt Obi-Wan.
Mhm.
Because that was such a success, I
Mhm.
was invited to London.
Mm.
Uh, and I had never been outside the US.
Mhm.
Uh, and that was a treat. Uh,
Yeah.
I went to London, I went to Paris, I went to Italy, and I sculpted
This
uh, Peter
for,
Cushing live. And
wow.
that's a whole different experience than sculpting him, in the privacy of my
Of
own
course.
studio, because you've got these people around you
Yeah.
that they're expecting something, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's spot on. You captured the like his personality. This is beautiful.
Oh,
Yes.
thank
Good
you,
job.
thank you. I enjoyed doing that, and that was in London.
Wow. Okay.
And
Now I want to bring up the Obi-Wan, obviously, because that is also such a beautiful piece, and you got it right behind you too. But I wanted to bring up a few more images to show you. You could chat about. So yeah, tell us about this Obi-Wan, and that it's again, I see it right behind you. So
yeah, Obi-Wan is my favorite. This
Yeah.
is bronze. Because I don't want to part with it.
Oh, good for you. Good for
And
you.
it was done
Wow.
uh, in 5 days
hmm,
over the period of the Star Wars evolution. And
wow,
uh, I brought it back to the studio, and it's loose because it was loosely done, because I only had 5 days to work it.
yeah,
And I said, okay, now I'm going to finish it.
hmm,
And then I talked myself out of it. I said, why finish it? It looks good.
Yeah.
So I ended up not finishing it. It was exactly the way it was
yeah,
on the last day. And we ended up just like the three pieces. Luke Skywalker was the third, and it was done in Japan.
hmm,
We did it the same way we did uh, Obi-Wan and Peter Cushing. A
hmm.
person won it.
Oh
Uh,
wow,
someone visited,
yeah.
and they they gave a raffle, and at the end of the day, they won it.
They won it. Wow. So some lucky fan out there has one of your original
Well,
pieces there.
Doug Klein, Doug Klein won it. Won the original Obi-Wan,
Oh wow.
and a woman who I don't remember the name of won the Peter Cushing, no,
Darth.
one Luke Skywalker, and I don't remember the name of
Yeah, it's
the
okay.
fellow who won, Peter Cushing, but
Yeah.
but you know, I made plasters of each, and Steve Sansweet lobbied me into giving him one.
That
Peter
guy.
Cushing. I'm like, I might have to lobby
I know.
Peter Cushing for myself. I love that Peter Cushing.
I know. I know.
Um, so Lawrence, what about this? I
This
mean,
was a private commission
mhm.
done for, well, I don't want to say the name,
That's
so
okay. That's
uh,
okay.
but it's a life size piece that I decided to do in wood and metal and plastic, everything.
Oh, that's so cool.
And and then I sold it to him. And
Yeah.
I also have a blaster, and this is the blaster.
Oh,
I love that.
oh yeah. There's that.
Oh man, they're heavy.
Yeah.
That's the blaster.
What's that made of?
This is bronze.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
This bronze. I
Yeah.
have a little bronze Yoda. Oh, well, I have a little bronze Yoda,
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
That's so cool.
which I'm really pleased with this.
Yeah. Love that.
I don't have a ton of bronzes because bronzes cost money, and I'm not
Yes, it does.
in my heart
Yes.
not rich in the pocketbook. And Libby says the term is famous and rich and famous.
Yeah.
He said, well, um, it doesn't help for me to be famous, not without rich.
Hilarious.
He was being funny.
I think in the mix of that needs to be respect because
Yeah.
you have surely gained that.
Well, and Lawrence, this is something kind of more recent, right? That
Yeah,
you're working on.
this is for the same collector.
Yeah.
Holy
It
shit.
was a one-off version of Luke Stormtrooper.
And look
And
at that. And this is your process of you when you're doing the.
this is the patina process. So
Oh,
uh, patina is applied under high heat. You don't want to touch the piece when you're patinaing.
hmm.
I would
So,
absolutely love to see that going on. Damn. Is that up where you live too? Holy cow.
it's in Berkeley,
Okay.
and this was at the
Lucas.
Lucasfilm for a day. And,
Oh my gosh, I love that.
so they uh, liked it. Who was it that saw it for a day? The head of licensing.
Yeah. Oh,
So
we know. Yeah.
I was always afraid to let the licensing people see it because they knew
Yeah.
artwork
Yeah.
from get go, and
Yeah, we've met those guys. Super cool.
Yeah.
uh, and they liked it. And I went, oh man, that's
The process,
that's a relief.
yeah. The process, Lawrence, I just couldn't even imagine how this starts out to create it into that. That's just amazing.
It's clay, and it started with clay, and it had nothing to do with the model that I
Yeah.
used as reference for the clay, and I'm very happy with the form of the clay because you actually see the body inside the clay.
Right.
That made me happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also wanted one, and
Yeah.
I didn't get one.
Oh man.
Mm.
Well, I mean, you could always do
Make
another.
one.
Steal it. Steal it. Set up some ruse to
Yeah.
see it. This is a piece that was actually inspired by the Pope. The Pope was holding his staff
Mhm.
in that angle, and his head was not Darth Vader's, but he was, obviously tired.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, man, if I could do Darth Vader like that and make his hand look like, oh my God, what have I become? You know,
Yeah.
it's that version of Darth Vader that shows in a human form what
Mhm.
have I become? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
uh,
Gabe, Gabe,
Yeah.
there's nothing like hearing
Oh,
the story
I
behind the statue of the artist himself, man. I mean,
this
that's so cool, Lawrence.
is
well,
great.
I wanted to add the type, but I had on a print I made of it. Uh, Failure will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
and and I did that,
Yeah.
and they said Acme said we want another one with Yoda doing do or do not, and I
Yeah.
said, what is that based on? He said, well, it's based on the failure. Failure will not be tolerated. I said, I didn't I didn't write the do or do not, but I did write will not be tolerated
Yeah.
because again, I wanted to show, even he gets frustrated, and the potential for him to be disappointed and stuff didn't go past the body; it went to the head too.
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that you have the viewer in mind, you have a backstory in mind while you're creating all this, which shows. And I think that's why you capture, the essence of the characters, the people, the story in your work.
Yes.
And it's brilliant. We love it. I wanted to jump on your website really quick and kind of show our audience, because your website is up, and where they can see, explore a lot of your work. Um, so
So a lot of it is sculpture, recent work, and drawings, and oh,
look at that.
that was done for USC.
Yeah,
Uh, a lot of those are recent sculptures.
yeah. Look at there you are.
Shows the scale of the piece.
Wow,
That's beautiful.
that's amazing.
That's Ralph
That's
McCord.
Ralph. Yeah, there's Ralph
Oh,
McCord.
wow. Look at that.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, again, you guys could scroll through this and look at this. Yeah.
That was a coin. I've recently been selected by the U.S. coin medallions
Yeah.
to design coinage and medallions for the U.S. Mint.
Wow.
And that
Yes.
was a story on breast cancer
Uh,
and what it means to for a young woman to or an old woman to get breast cancer to go through the process,
Right.
and sometimes it means that the person d- dies, but sometimes it means that they're gratefully enhanced by the presence of getting through the cancer alive. And my wife went through uh, breast cancer, and I wanted to, I wanted to show that.
Yeah,
Uh,
Good for
but
you.
you know, anyway,
beautiful. No, that's amazing.
you know,
Beautiful work. So yeah, so a lot of your statues are in here, a lot of your work that, and again, I mean, it's, we as Star Wars fans, we tend to gravitate obviously towards the Star Wars work, but there's just so much more than just Star Wars.
maybe
Absolutely.
And so look at the Bat Kid. I totally, yeah, I mean, he, I believe he passed away right recently, and he,
I
um,
don't know if he did pass away. That was an attempt that the Make a Wish Foundation wanted to honor him, and that
Awesome.
was my attempt at honoring him. I did a sculpture, uh,
mhm,
but it never got to that stage. What,
Gotcha.
what happens to a lot of sculptures is the money runs out,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of money to do it.
yeah. And some of your illustrations, I love this. Look at, you got Charles Bronson up there. Got,
That was I did that piece, Bronson, uh,
mhm,
right before I moved to New York from Houston.
mhm,
Moved to New York, and that piece and the cover of World Tennis were
mhm,
on the stands when I moved it up. And I went, whoa, this is nice. 1975
yeah.
and 72
Mhm,
was that McGovern
Yeah.
mm, yeah.
campaign.
Wow.
I love the Flash Gordon stuff. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
But over there, yeah. Here's the one sheet that you're talking about.
Yeah. Uh,
Did you do the cover for Queen?
yeah.
That's what
Wow.
I thought. That's pretty cool. I have that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you have one.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
My daughter Haley actually likes that one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
He
Really.
has taste.
Yeah.
I love that. Look at that. A lot of different album covers that you did. Forbidden
Yeah,
Planet.
they've been fun. I mean, I've done a lot of album covers. Arthur Fiedler and Artie Shaw and Neil Sedaka and a lot of. I did ACDC, but they didn't use it.
Oh,
It
So
was
when you do a lot of this artwork, Lawrence, sorry to cut you off. When you do a lot of this artwork, there's a lot of times you do get to meet the artists that are involved as well.
sometimes I do. Yeah,
I remember you were telling me the story with Burt Reynolds and stuff. So
Burt Reynolds was amazing,
yeah,
amazing guy. I mean,
yeah,
he saw a portrait I did of Steve McQueen,
mhm,
and he liked it a lot. And he said, I want one like it.
mhm,
So I went over to meet him at Paramount Pictures,
mhm.
and he was in his trailer. And I'm waiting outside. Well, I wasn't crossed my hands, but I was waiting outside.
you're so great.
He comes bounding out of the trailer and he extends his hand. He says, Larry Noble, he says, I'm pleased to meet you. I've heard so much about you. And this was Burt Reynolds. He was at
Yeah,
the top of his form.
yeah,
There's Burt. And I said, he didn't need to be so nice to me. He said, come on in the trailer and
Mhm,
uh, we'll talk about the ideas you have for the one sheet poster. And it
mhm.
was just he and I, we're sitting at the trailer, and he says, "You tell me your ideas, and I'll tell you mine." And I told him my idea, and he says, "Great, we'll go with it." I said, well, "What about your idea?" "No, I like yours better."
There
yeah.
you go.
and and he said, uh, next I saw him testing Rachel Ward. She was his love interest
Yeah.
in the film, and she's, gosh, beautiful. And I'm in there while they're doing their tests,
Good
and I
test.
was trying to blend with the wall. I mean, the photographer and myself were there, and we were supposed to take pictures. And
Yeah.
I said, "Man, I can't do it with all these people here." And we were about ready to exit. He says, "Okay, cut, cut. Harry Noble, come up here right now." And I said, "Oh God,
Wow.
I've been caught." So I went up there, and he says, "You want Sharky?" And it was like Zoolander. You want what do you say, number 5 or so? This is Zoolander, and he turns around and he shows the gun. This is what I'm want. This is what I want. And I said, "Perfect. Get the photos. Get the photos."
Yeah.
It was real sweet to me. I mean,
Awesome.
and when we finished, he said, "Come on over to my house." And I came over, and he says, "Let's go to the game room." And we went to the game room. He says, "Would you like a beer?" I said, "Gosh, yeah." Uh, so we have his beer. He's got a beer, and he opens a game room door, and there was uh, Bert, John Wayne. A photo of John Wayne, and it's "Let's toast John Wayne." And I was a big John Wayne fan. It's, yeah, you bet.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. What a great storyteller you are. Man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, he wrote the story. All I did was, say an incident, and I've been treated with kindness with Nicholas Meyer, the director of Time After Time and Star Trek,
Yep.
and been invited over to his house for dinner, and Burt Reynolds and Peter Jackson and George Lucas, and I've had nothing but respect and just niceness from them. And I told Libby is my wife, and I said, they could have gotten anybody. How come they got me? And she says, "Come over here.
Mhm.
I want to show you your portfolio." And she proceeds to show me the portfolio, and she describes each one. And this is why they want you here. And this is why they want you there. He says, he could have gotten anyone. I said, "Yeah, that's my point." He said, "But he called you."
Yeah.
And I said, I can't argue with that. He
Yeah.
called. So I'm respectfully honest
Yeah.
with his feelings about me, and I only have nice feelings to say about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them.
And not only just them, but even just the community itself, especially in the Bay Area, right? Because I mean, even the stuff, right, like at the Presidio, like that, those monuments are going to be there forever, and people enjoy them every day, right? And they see them, they appreciate them, and
Yes.
it's just, I mean, it's such a pleasure. It's such an honor, honestly, for us to be able to chat with you about all this stuff, because
Yes.
It's an honor to do them. It was my honor to
that,
do them.
yeah,
Uh, and with that comes responsibility, and you need to be responsible if you're an artist, responsible for your own work. Uh, that's all I want to say. Is like, it takes more than being an artist. It takes responsibility,
yeah,
and you know I've sat in front of, that's Jack Benny,
yeah,
uh, and that's me at a long time ago. But the it takes a lot to watch a whole schoolroom of kids go up to the Yoda fountain,
Yeah.
and everybody remarks about it, and everybody, loves it. And for me to see that, it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I just know that uh, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
your work makes people happy. And so I think there's this whole symbiotic relationship that we have. And I'm sure I say this for us, for our viewers. I know that we are talking to someone that's going to go down in history as a great American artist that's going to be talked about in classes for decades to come, Lauren. So I
you're hired. You're hired.
You got the job, kid.
thank you.
That
Thank
was
you. Thank you
that
so
was
much.
well said, kid. Well
Truly, I mean, it truly is. You definitely are a walking, living legend in this space, and it is a true honor again to be able to hear these stories and to chat with you, and learn more about you and get to know your personality too. Because sometimes that's the one thing, right? About people see your work, but to get to know you and how funny you are and how
yeah,
charismatic.
they're awesome.
That's another added layer of your greatness. So
Yes.
That's awfully sweet of you. I have gratitude
mhm.
every day. My dad fought in the World War II. He was a navigator on the B-24, which is a giant
Mhm.
bomb. And he flew 29 missions over German occupied territory at a time when most bombers didn't survive, with 50 with half of the bombers didn't survive.
Mm.
So it's just lucky that he survived, and he inspired, for kids. And it's been lucky for me that I've been able to spend a career in art, as opposed to, a career fighting a fascist.
Yeah.
I've been able to spend the career, and it's never uh, been as important to me as it is right now. Those boys that gave their all, uh, for us,
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
So that's that. My dad has been honored.
Yeah,
Yeah. Really. Sorry about that.
that's awesome.
Um,
Well, I would like to when we sum, I know we're going to wrap this up, but I want to start out by saying, number one, Lawrence, there's absolutely no doubt that Libby plays, your lovely wife, plays a huge part in the success. All the years that you guys have spent together, and her knowledge and support for you, I know has definitely been helpful to you and your career. And I would like to also say that a few people know, but it's a huge honor that I'm going to be able to have one of your Yoda bronze statues in our new facilities, the Darkside Brick Oven Pizza Company, for thousands of people to come and view and see and be able to see your work. And I look forward to, hopefully one day having you come in. And it's really awesome that Gabe and I can call you friend now, because you're
Well,
awesome, Lawrence. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
you can call me friend. I have to know. You are my Texas friend, and I'm
That's
from
right.
Houston, and
Yes, sir.
my Texas roots go awfully deep, and
Yes, sir.
so it's a pleasure for me for you to have a Yoda. It's a pleasure for me to have a collector out there that wants the work, you
Yes,
know, we'll be up selling on the website. We're going to be up selling a few of the bottleneck uh, posters
Yeah.
very soon. So,
very cool. That's good to
yeah.
know. And yeah, and your brother lives in San Antonio, which is not 30 minutes away from here. So, you know, hopefully maybe he'll be able to come and see your work in all its glory. Because I will definitely, when I click this waterfall on and the water starts sprinkling down and Yoda's got all his glory, you're going to be the first one to get that picture.
All right. All right. Well, thank you.
A little overexposed, but let me see if I could show it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's it. That's all dry stacked stone, and we tested the waterfall the other day. The water sprinkles out beautifully. Yeah, as you can see there, and yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a beautiful little area.
It's always fun to see, your interpretation of it
Yes,
because
sir.
it shows the creativeness in the society.
Yes,
You know.
sir. Yeah, and it's funny because it was me and Gabe that were talking about your work and the Yoda, and I had always wanted to do a water feature, and then all of a sudden it was like, I was calling Gabe after the show, and I was telling him about, let's the Yoda fountain. It's got to happen, and so yeah, and it's happening. So very very blessed with that. But Lawrence, from Michael here, I just and all of our viewers, I wanted to say thank you so very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and thank your lovely wife as well for and your son for the help. And Gabe, you want to lead off with this one?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Lawrence. Like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. You are such a talented and a great person to chat with. So, again, we really do appreciate it. And,
Well, thank you.
This was a fun show, Gabe.
absolutely.
Well, it was fun for me. I mean, it was an honor for me to be around you guys. I mean, two of the best collectors.
Well, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice words.
It's nice to have a relationship with you, and nice for you to call out my wife of 42 years
There
and
you go. Of course.
my son John, who's just now working with me.
Wow. That's awesome.
I'm slowing down. I'm not slowing down in terms of work, but I'm slowing down that he's working with me, and he's joyful about it, and so is my daughter. They're both working with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It allows me to take some time off and do these things with you.
Absolutely. Your stories need to be told, and they're going to be told, so keep it going. Keep it going, Lawrence. I mean, stay young. Stay young, buddy.
I will stay young as long as I can.
Yeah, you're doing fantastic. Well, we will be talking soon, Lawrence. Thank you again so much for your time, buddy.
All right.
And to everybody, thanks for another great show, Collection Wars. Gabe, it's good seeing you, brother.
See you, Michael, and see everybody next week.
See you.